Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Unity Beginner Series tutorial thing that we're working on. The platformer, the cool thing that you're about to look at. Take a look what we did last episode. We got jumping working. As you can see, we can just hop around just like that. We even got little animations for it and everything is set up. So we're looking really good there. The next thing that's on the list, if we take a look at our list here, let's see here. We can move to the side and jump. So I'm just going to change this to yellow. There are coins on a level that the player can collect. That is what we're going to be doing this episode. Now, I went ahead and already made a little coin thing here. I'm not an artist, okay? I just made it, okay? We're just going to deal with it. If you want to make a better coin yourself, you can, okay? It's no big deal. Just go ahead and either download the art from the description below, or you can just make your own and import it and do it everything like you did in the other episode. You know, you set compression to none, set the filter to no point filter, and then you change the pixels per unit to 32. That's all you have to do. Make sure when you make the art that it's 32 by 32 pixels as well. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of issues. Now, as for the coins, let's just go ahead and what we're going to do is we're going to make a main object. Okay, we're going to call this coin, and then let's go over here onto this transform here on the right side. Right click it, click reset. So that way it's centered. Let's get out of the game view here. So now as you can see, it is centered in the level. Now what we want to do, actually what we want to do is right click on the coin again and go to 2D object and click sprite. We want to make sure the sprite is a sub object of the parent object, the coin. Mostly for the animation that we're going to put into it, but we're going to just name this graphic. Then after this, let's just go ahead and change the graphic to coin. There we go. Okay, now we have a coin. So just look in our game view. Right there's the coin. What we can do is animate it. Really cool. The Unity's got a cool little animator thing we can do. So just go to your animation window if you don't have it. If you don't have, I mean, if you have it, I mean, if you don't have it, go to your window, go to animation, just do animation window. And then all you have to do is just click on the coin object here and click create. We're going to store this animation in the animation folder, and we're just going to call this coin underscore Bob. And that way, what we can do is we can actually make this thing move and do a little fancy animation, so it looks kind of intriguing for the player to get, I guess. So what we're gonna do is click the record button here. This is where fancy stuff can go down with the animator. We can actually like keyframe stuff like in a video editor. So once you click this record button, you'll see a bunch of redness here. That means we're recording. Um, Now what we want to do is while that's going, just click the graphic here, click your little move tool things. We got the arrows here. And all you have to do is, well, honestly, we can just move it like a little bit and then just reset the Y to 0 because we have to set the keyframe that way. And then once we have that, make sure your Y is set to 0 when you move it like this. Then drag this bar to like 10 seconds. Okay, it'll be 10 seconds in, 0, 10. Okay, go to 10 seconds. And then all we want to do, this is going to be the max height of the bob. So we're just going to raise it up like this. I think that's fine. And then what we do is we go to the next 10 seconds in. So go to the 20-second, then just highlight the first two keyframes, press Control C and then Control V. That way you can paste it. Then you stop recording, then we can play it and see we got a little bob animation here. Cool stuff. We can even slow it down if it looks a little fast, which it kind of is. Let's slow it to 20. Even more. Let's do 10. Yeah, I think that looks good. Do samples at 10 rate. Okay, I think that's fine. A little cool bob animation. All right, so it's going to do that forever. And what we can do is on the coin, let's actually add a box collider. Box collider 2D. Make it a trigger. A trigger means that basically when something enters into this green zone right here, when something comes flying into it or anything walks into it, it triggers an event or something happens. And the trigger doesn't actually have a collision box, so you can't actually push the trigger, but you can walk through it and it knows when you walk through it. So anyway, we're gonna make it a trigger. We're gonna resize it to be roughly the shape of the coin. Roughly, we're gonna, oh god, oh boy. I just totally screwed that up. Okay, hang on. And there we go. Resize it perfectly. Okay. But the thing is we don't want it to be a perfect resize. You want to have it a little bit bigger than what it appears because, well, most of the time when you have them, when you have the colliders really accurate, a lot of times players think that they hit something, but they actually didn't. So if you make it a little bit bigger than, you make it a little bit bigger than what it's supposed to be, generally you can avoid that issue of, well, if you like walk into something and you think that you hit it, but you actually didn't because the colliders are not set correctly. But if you have the collider slightly bigger, that would have never happened. It's kind of hard to explain. you'd understand it if you saw it. Anyway, actually, this collider is not gonna bounce up and down with the graphic. That's gonna be a problem, a slight problem. Hang on. Actually, no, it won't. No, it won't. No, we're good. We're fine. We're fine. Okay. So now that we have the coin, what we're gonna want to do is actually we want to make a coin script. Let's just go ahead and make a coin script. Go into your scripts folder over here. Actually, we got to move our scripts into the script folder. We only have a player move one. So move that into the script folder. Just drag and drop it in, and it'll fill it up. Okay, now we go into the script folder. We right click, click C# script. And what we want to do is call this a coin. It is a coin object after all. We just go ahead and attach it to the coin object. And we open it up in Visual Studio. Whew. Okay, so we can actually get rid of all of this. We don't need any of that. But what we're going to want to do is make a serialized field here. And then we're just going to name it, I don't know, int score or maybe value. We'll do value. And we're just going to default it to we'll just default it to 1 for now. And then what we can do is this cool function. You wouldn't really know this without, well, starting Unity and looking up some documentation. But the basics of a trigger or a collider is certain functions or methods come available to you inside of these scripts. So what we can do is we can do an on trigger, and then you see we have a list of on trigger stuff here. We got enter, exit, and stay. And keep in mind, it says trigger enter here, but it also says trigger enter 2D here. And since we're doing 2D, we want to select the 2D methods. So anyway, on trigger enter 2D, just double click it, and it'll make this little function for us. It's really cool. Basically, what it's doing is once something enters into this trigger, it gives us whatever that object is. It gives us its collider. So in this case, we'd get our player. But what we want to do is we aren't for sure certain if it's actually our player entering this coin's trigger. So what we want to do is test for it. So we got to do an if, and then do collision dot, and then we can do compare tag, and I'll explain this in a second, player. And then we just finish the if statement. Okay, so right here, we are doing whatever entered into the trigger zone, and then we're looking at its tag, its current tag. Its tag, in this case, if we click on our player object, we don't actually have a tag, it looks like. Yeah, we don't actually have a tag. So what we want to do is maybe on the hitbox. Yeah, on the hitbox, let's go to the tag here, and we'll just click the drop down and click player. Now, when the player walks in, when the player walks into the trigger is gonna be like, okay, hey, does this object have the player tag? And it's gonna look at the hitbox and it's gonna be like, oh, yes, it does. And then when that happens, it's gonna actually increment our score. So what we can do here is we're gonna have to make a UI manager because what we want to do is have our score increment. Or actually, we don't. Should we jump in the UI right now? I mean, I guess we could. I guess we could. I guess yeah. Let's jump in the UI. Let's do that. Okay, so now we have to put this on hold. Okay, so right now we're just gonna increment our score, and then what we want to do is we're gonna put another comment here and say destroy me. We want to destroy the coin after we step on it or after we pick it up. Okay. Um. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click in this zone again in your scripts folder. We're gonna create another C# script, and we're gonna create UI manager. Yeah, just like that. Okay, then what we want to do is actually right click on the hierarchy here, and we want to make a UI, and let's make a text mesh pro object. And what it's going to do when you click that is it's going to ask you to import the text mesh pro stuff. Just click import. It only takes 2 seconds, but you kind of need it. Text mesh pro is by far the best text thing in Unity. We don't need to worry about the examples and extras. No, it's not worth it. Okay. Let's change the name of this text object to our score. And I'll just double click it to see where it is. And as you can see, it is on this giant looking block thing. So this is where Unity gets a little bit different because when you make a UI, what it is it's still in world space, but it's just much bigger. And it's kind of weird to explain, and I don't really think I could explain it, so we're just gonna have to go with it. It really all it is just a giant panel that appears in the world, and this panel is like specifically made to only appear on screen. So right here you can see the new text thing. The new text is actually right here. So this white box here is actually your screen. It's actually your physical screen that shows up in the game window. So what we can do is actually click on the canvas object here, go to the canvas scalar object, and it says UI scale mode. We don't want constant pixel size. We want scale with screen size. That's because constant pixel size is going to try to keep a certain pixel length and width kind of, but it's not going to scale with the screen size. We don't want that. We want to always be the same screen size. So anyway, let's change the reference resolution to 1920 by 1080. And with that said, we should have a pretty good to go canvas now. Go to your score object or the score text thing that we made. Click this little rect tool up here. Right here, it looks like a little box with 4 dots on it. And we're just going to want to drag this so it's a little bit bigger. And now we can actually position this. So let's just go ahead and move this, I don't know, to the top right up here. I think that's fine. And let's go to our Text Mesh Pro stuff here and let's do alignment in the middle. That's fine. And let's just change this text to score and put a colon here. And then just do 9999 or something like that. I think that's fine. And then if you look in your game window, you can see it says score up here. That's fine, but we want to make the text a little bit bigger because it's not that big. Make it like that big. I think that's fine. I think that'll be good. Actually, we might have to align it to the right. Let's align it to the right. Yeah, change the alignment to be on the right instead of the middle. I think that'll look better. Yeah. Okay. Now that we have that, so there's this thing in Unity UI that's called anchors or anchor points. And for the longest time, I didn't actually know what they did. But you see these little white things here in the middle? This is where the text is actually anchored to. Now, this is bad because we don't want it to be anchored in the middle. Mostly because I believe if we go into the game view and you change it to like free aspect or something, as you can see, it doesn't, the text kind of wonks out and it doesn't look right. It kind of like changes its position and it starts going towards the middle of the screen rather than staying at the top right. And that's not a good thing if we want it to be this game to be playable across multiple different types of screens. So let's go back to 16 by 9. And as you can see, it's fine. Let's actually change the anchor point of this. So for score, let's change the anchor point, which you can do that by clicking this little box right here in the rect transform. And then you'll get a big menu of anchor point presets. And we have our text in the top right. So let's actually click this button right here. And see, now it's snapped these 4 things up to the top right of the screen. Now, with that said, it is anchored to the top right part of the screen. So now, if we were to change the look of our screen, it stays in the top right. And if we click free aspect, it should stay in the top right, which it does. So there, that's kind of what we wanted to do. I think that works fine. Let's go back to 16 by 9 though in our aspect ratio. That way it looks fine. Okay, cool. I'm actually going to shift this over so we have a bigger view. Okay, so there's our score object. Now, what do we do with this text thing? How do we edit it? Okay, so this is where we're going to need a UI manager. And actually, we're going to put the UI manager probably on the canvas itself. So let's actually just attach the UI manager here and then put that on the canvas and then double click it to open it. Now, this is where we're going to do some fancy stuff. Some really fancy stuff, actually. Just delete everything in there. Go up here to this using Unity engine part here and press enter. So that way we got a little new line. And then we're going to type in using Unity engine dot, or actually, no, it's only using TM Pro, I believe. Hang on. Yeah. Actually, you know what we'll do? Using TM Pro and then do using Unity engine dot UI for just in case we need to do it for future reference. Okay. So what we just did, basically what we're doing is we're importing a library. It's like a library of code, okay? As you can see, we already have these 3 up here that are default, and that's basically what allows us to type in stuff like on trigger enter and stuff like that. Basically, we just typed in a whole new library that lets us have access to more stuff. So in this case, what we want to do is make a serialized field, and we're going to call this a text mesh pro UGUI, like this. It's a weird name, but it's text mesh pro UGUI. Basically what that is it's the text object that we just made. And we're just going to call this the score text. Score text. I think that's fine. Now, let's make a public void set score, or actually let's do increment score. Increase score. Let's do increase score. I think that'll be fine. Increase score, and then we're going to do an int amount as a parameter. Okay, so just like how in our on trigger enter thing, we have a parameter here, or like something that this function is going to give to us that we can use in the function. So in this case, we're getting a collider 2D and we got a collision, and then we can test the collision with whatever we want. So the same thing's applying here, except in this case, we're getting an int or an integer or like one number. So in this case, if we want to ever increase our score, we just type in the number we want to increase the score by. This is pretty cool stuff. So let's see here. How do we want to do this? What we can do, what we can do is actually do, instead of increasing the score, we can, well, we're going to have to try to keep track of the current score anyway. So I guess for now, let's put this on the UI manager. We're not going to keep it here, but we're just going to do an int score is equal to 0 right here. Just declare an int score equal to 0. It just leave it like this. No serialized fields because we don't want to see it in the inspector. Anyway, increase score. What we're going to do is we're going to do score text. Type in score text dot text. Now, I know it sounds weird to have to type in score text dot text. Okay, it sounds a little weird. Why would we have to type in it twice? Well, the reason why is because this right here, this reference is actually talking about the text object right here. So it's actually getting this component, which has all of these things in it. Okay, it's not just the text field. So when we get this, we have to say that, hey, we want to edit just the text field. That's why we have to do the dot text. Once we do that, what we can do is we have to do the text is going to be equal to, and then we do a string here. And then we just type in score just exactly as we had it before. Do a space, and then we get outside of the string thing. We do plus, and then what we have to do is do score plus amount. Okay. So now, or actually, no. Just do score. Just do score. Yeah, okay. And then up here above this, let's do score plus equals. So what I just did here, basically what we're doing is we're saying, all right, take the score that we have, which right now is 0. Take the score and increment it by whatever the value is here. This is shorthand. Actually, this is the exact same thing as saying this, is saying score plus amount. The exact same thing as saying score is equal to score plus amount. Okay, that's how you'd see it in normal math, but you can write it shorthand like this. So I mean, I'm gonna delete this line. Anyway, so now we're incrementing score. So if we incremented the score by 1, then score would be equal to 1, which means that this is going to set the string of score, and it's going to say plus 1, or it's going to say whatever our score is. The reason why we need to do this right here is to make sure that the text continues to say score right here. Because if we didn't, then it would just say a number, and we don't want that. We want the actual score number to show up. And like I said, we're probably not going to keep the score thing here on this UI manager. We're actually more than likely going to end up having to make a game manager to do it. That'll be cool stuff. But anyway, I gotta speed things up because we're running short on time here. Another thing we have to do with the UI manager to make sure that this actually works correctly is we want to make this a singleton. And the way you make a singleton, and actually answer what a singleton is first. So a singleton is basically, there's only one possible object or one possible instance of this object in the scene. There's only one at all that can be alive at one time. And on top of that, you can reference it from practically anywhere. So this is really cool stuff. We're going to do a public static, and we're going to call it UI manager, and just call it instance. Now, you're probably like, what is static? Static means that there's only one type of it. There's only one thing of it. That's what static means. And if you make it public, then that means everything can actually access it. So what we can do now is in the awake function, we got to do something to make sure nothing happens. And I'll explain why here in a second. But if instance is equal to null, then instance is equal to, or actually is equal to this. Else destroy. Okay. So what we just did here is when the game starts, we're going to see if there's not already a UI manager that exists, we're going to see if there is not already one that exists. If there's not, then the current existence of this script is equal to this script. Otherwise, if one already exists, then just simply destroy me, because we don't want two static objects alive at one time. That's not possible. So now that we have that, we can actually do some fancy stuff. So now in this coin script over here, see where it says increment our score? We're going to actually do that right now. So let's type in UI manager, and then see it says UI manager glows green. And what we can do is do instance, and then bam, look at that. Now we have a reference to whatever the UI manager is in the game. And then what we can do is do dot, and we want to do set, or actually it's increase score by the amount, which is the value variable that we have. Because we made a value variable up here, which is equal to 1 right now, but we can always change that later. But in this case, it's going to increase our score by whatever the value is. And then after this, we got to do destroy me, because it says destroy me. So let's just do destroy this dot game object. Okay. So now if you go back to our UI manager, it's going to increase our score. At least it should. Let's go back to our game here, and let's go to the canvas. Click the canvas and go to the UI manager. See, it says score text here. Just drag in your score text object into there. And I believe that's all we really need to do. Actually, believe it or not, I think that is all we need to do. I think we're ready. Pretty sure we're ready. Let's just move our coin to a better spot here. Let's just move it right over there. And just save the scene. And let's play and test it out and see if our coin works. See, it's a score right now. Okay, we're going to change that. Okay, that's a little bit of a problem. It's super easy to fix. But if we go pick up our coin, score is 1. Perfect. I think that is perfect. Okay. Anyway, let's get out of that. Let's fix our little bug there. As you saw, it said score equals 99,000 or whatever. Okay, that's because our score doesn't actually change from what we set previously in the inspector, so it's going to hold that. And what we want to do is, it's actually pretty simple. What we want to do, just make a start method, because the reason why we don't want to do this in awake is because it's not actually dealing with its current object. You don't want to do. You only want to do stuff on awake if it's a part of that current object, or I guess if it's children objects. Hang on, hold on. Let me take a gander. So with the UI manager here, oh, I guess we could do it on awake. Yeah, we could do it on awake because it's a child, so it's fine. Underneath the instance stuff, let's just do a reset score. Actually, we can make the method for this too. Maybe. Should we? No, we shouldn't make a method because that wouldn't really make much sense. Okay. Anyway, all we have to do is just increase score. And we just type in 0 as the parameter. That's all we have to do. Just do reset score, just do increase score by 0. And what's this going to do is it's going to set the score to 0, basically, because it's going to update the string. So if you watch, when I go in here and we click play, the score should be 0. And it is. Look at that. See? We can run around. We get a little bobbing coin right there. And let's go pick it up. Bam, we got 1 score. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now, with that, we're actually getting really close to finishing our basic stuff right here. So we actually got coins that we can pick up for points. Let's highlight that. Now, the last 2 things we're going to have to do in the next 2 episodes probably are make these last 2 things here. So what we are going to have to do in the next couple episodes is we're going to make a start and a finish to the level, or like a place where the player can spawn in and a place where the player can go to and finish the level. And we're also going to have to make it so the player can die. That is cool stuff. And after that might be a few touch-up things for like the last video that might be more of like just finishing the game. But as of right now, we're on track. We're doing really well. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We have working coins now. We can jump. What is this reference? Oh, nope, that's an error. Okay, so if you see this error right here that says clear preview cache or whatever, ignore it. It's just Unity being dumb. Okay, nothing bad. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so we got everything working. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe to see more, and I will see you in the next Unity tutorial episode. Bye-bye.